to another weekly update. I really hope you're doing well. So last week was kind of a busy one for me. If you follow me on LinkedIn, you'll know why. But also it was Microsoft Envision UK, which I'm going to talk about on this video a little bit. So yeah, been lots of changes. That's kind of maybe going to impact this weekly update a little bit, just in terms of right now, I'm going to struggle to show you stuff on the screen. So it's just going to be me talking during this video. I'm going to get back to being able to use my proper setup soon. It's just been a kind of a switch around. There's some bits and pieces happening on my desk and stuff like that. So regardless, lots of things happening coming up this week. This week is going to be a busy one as well. Microsoft Build is this week, so we've been waiting for it for a couple of weeks now. We've known it's coming. Then the session scheduler was out, and then there've been kind of, you know, lots of people kind of talking and rumoring about what might be there, what might not be there. We're going to find out this week because it's all starting from tomorrow. So very exciting. I'm going to be talking tomorrow in the evening UK time. It's a roundtable session, which means please come and get involved in the conversation. I think you'll find it interesting. If you're listening to this, I think you'll definitely find it interesting. It's an open conversation where I want to kind of really understand what people are seeing out there with customers and with their staff around non-developers getting involved in low code and no code. Yeah, so that should be interesting. You can find that on the scheduler. That wasn't one of the things I was going to talk about actually, but there we go. So a couple of things happening this week though. The first is an announcement on the Microsoft Teams blog that the app, the Microsoft Teams app, is actually available in the Microsoft Store now. Now, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago when it was coming and it was on the roadmap. There's a big blog post now that it's completely available. This is just the work and school one. It's not the personal one. To be honest, I think this is kind of a story that people are making a lot of noise about. In a funny sort of way, though, it isn't really Teams. I think it's an evolution of what's happened in the Microsoft Store to allow a wider class of applications in, and Teams now fits that bill. And this is old Teams, like this is the Teams written in Electron. It's not the rewrite. This is nothing to do with the rewrite. It's not because it's been written, it can now be in the store or anything like that. It is just, you know, that you could do more in the Microsoft Store now. You could put more apps in than you could previously. And so for that reason, this one can now be in. And that's kind of all it is, really. Like, it's good though, don't get me wrong. This is a really good thing because I've always kind of struggled on getting the right app version, where to download it from, where you go, and I always end up with the personal, like it's a bit of a nightmare. So it's good that there's now a single place to go and get it. And I think that's a good thing. So that's the first thing to tell you about. The second is I mentioned briefly about Microsoft Envision UK and a in-person Microsoft hosted event in London that happened last week. Very exciting. I went along to hear some sessions, to catch up with everyone. It was fantastic. It felt like a proper Microsoft conference. There were pastries, there were demos, there was music, there was networking and drinks. It was all the things that are really nice about in-person conferences. And actually it does feel like the people who put the conference together really thought about what are the things people have really missed out on. Let's double down on those. Some really other interesting things which I call out in the video as well. All of the sessions had a real-time signer that was actually delivered via Teams. So they had like a big TV at the front, spotlighting somebody on a Teams call who was doing the signing in real time. So I thought that was really kind of interesting to see. And it's something that I think is new in the past couple of years, and it's great to see. So I've done a video about my day at Envision. You can go and find it on my YouTube channel, and I'll put a link to it in the description. Just kind of covering the whole day, really. Like, I didn't really go into detail about the technical detail of the sessions because a lot of the sessions are on demand and recorded, so you can go and watch those if you want. More about the experience, the atmosphere, the things I saw. There was some HoloLens demos. There was a Mac. Go and check that out. That was funny. And a Surface Duo and all sorts of things. Oh, the new Surface Hub camera is there as well. So plenty of video to look at if you're interested in any of those things. So yeah, that's a video I've done that's on my YouTube channel. So that happened also. Other things that happened. So there's a Microsoft 365 roadmap entry which is relatively new, I think, and is describing general availability for Microsoft bots in GCC-High. So this is one of those things that if you're not using one of these restrictive tenants in Azure, or Microsoft 365, then you might not be aware of some of these things. But up until now, so GCC-High have not been able to use bots in the bot framework. And I mean, you just imagine like how, what the kind of opportunities that's going to light up now, suddenly being able to create bots in bot framework on those GCC-High tenants for those kind of very bespoke, like those customers with those specific needs. Actually, things like bots are still going to be super useful and have a really important part to play there as well. So I think that's really good for them. I think it's really good. It's really good for bot framework as well, because it opens it up to a whole nother class of customer. And I'm really glad that they've managed to work out the specific requirements of those tenants and those customers to still be able to deliver bot framework, because I think it's bot framework and bots, obviously a huge part of modern workplace transformation. And so that's equally as important on some of these restricted tenants as well. So I think that's really good to see. One more thing I want to tell you about happening this week. And again, this is interesting. I think it's something I picked up on. It's a link I walked away from Envision with, because one of the speakers mentioned it in passing and I kind of dug into it. And we've been here before. I think I've talked about this before. It's worth coming back to again and again, because the information and the data is always changing. And that is the Work Trend Index, which is something that Microsoft have been compiling. It's a whole set of stats and numbers that describe a lot of the research Microsoft have been doing around hybrid work. So if you need numbers, if you need stats to describe what is happening at the moment, very up-to-date stats, very pertinent stats, and interesting stats, either to kind of make a point or to understand actually what's going on. 50% of leaders say their company already requires or plans to require full-time in-person work in the year ahead. Yeah, I think that's interesting. But also, like, aligned with that, 52% of Gen X and millennials likely to consider changing employers this year. Increase in the weekly time spent in meetings for the average Teams user. Okay, get this. So increase in the weekly time spent in meetings for your average Teams user since February 2020, up 252%. Wow. I mean, yeah, I guess that feels right? So some really interesting stats there. They're worth digging into. It's a really good resource to have, either for you or to spread around inside your company. If you've got leaders making decisions about hybrid working, send them this. It will give them a lot of information that they can use to help make their decisions as well. Yeah, lots and lots of good stats out of this. There's some things about frontline workers. There's things about how best to like thrive in hybrid works. So lots of interesting things to call out there. All right, I think that is everything I wanted to bring you up to date on. Like I say, it's a kind of, again, more so than most weeks, it's a funny one because it is right at the start of build. And so we're going to see a whole slew of announcements come out this week. So probably me doing this time next week is going to be loads and loads of things to talk about. So we'll see. Yes, so make sure you keep up to date with all the build stuff, and remember that a lot of the build sessions are either on demand or they are recorded after the fact, so you can kind of watch them at a time that's right for you. So keep up with that. And yeah, I think that's everything. Have a great week, whatever it is you're doing, and I will see you again next time.